Okay, you're going to be joining a program called This Is Not a Drill, a Hypothetical Pandemic. And it's coming from what's called the Wheeler Center, W-H-E-E-L-E-R, Wheeler Center in Melbourne, Australia. And the year of its publication is 2018. Now it's going to start with a hypnotic induction. The use of color, the use of flashing light, the use of music. And this induction that you will see here in the next 20 or 30 seconds is what brings a person into a hypnotic state. This will induce a deep state of hypnosis within a matter of seconds. So watch how fast it goes, and watch how the lights flicker, and look at the usage of color. Now what is happening to you, or what will happen to you, is that so many things will be flashed at you so quickly that what it will do to the human thinking process is the logical part of your mind will shut off. It's as if the logical part of your mind says, I can't handle this, I can't handle this. So you go into a dream-like state. It's almost like you laid down to go to sleep and your mind is starting to drift, and the next thing you wake up 8 hours later and it's morning because your mind shut off. Your logic mind, your ability to use your senses shuts off, and you go into the hypnotic state. So I'm going to let you watch this hypnotic induction, and then we'll analyze a little bit of the content of the so-called This Is Not a Drill, a hypothetical pandemic.
Have you had a flu shot this year? It's designed to protect you against...
Notice the first immediate question with supposedly a woman dressed in red. And most likely we know it's really a man. And everything's the opposite. But she's dressed in red, which is usually related to the idea of passion, to pull you in immediately. Have you had a flu shot? Well, heaven's sakes, if you haven't, you'll be hit with a pandemic virus.
Seasonal flu. But what if there was a far more dangerous virus lurking, spreading from person to person and country to country, with authorities struggling to work out how to stop it? There's no vaccine, at least not yet. How do you contain it? How do you treat those who have been infected? And how do global authorities work together?
Notice how she involved you by saying, how do you? It ties into my video, don't play the we game. Well, don't play the you game.
To find the answers. Tonight, in a joint project with AsiaLink, the University of Melbourne and the Wheeler Centre, our expert panel will answer those questions.
Expert panel? Actors.
In a hypothetical pandemic. What if disease X, the previously unknown pathogen warned of by the World Health Organization?
Disease X will become coronavirus, or COVID-19. This is pre-programming the minds because they know what's going to hit. Remember, this is being filmed and presented to the public in the year 2018.
Organisation has finally arrived.
The average person touches their face 3 to 5.
Okay, now they're reviewing the film Contagion, and all along on my channel I have been stating that Contagion is and was the script. And this confirms to me, yes, my observation is correct. They're showing film clips from the movie Contagion.
Times every waking minute. In between, we're touching doorknobs, water fountains, and each other.
It was a Hollywood blockbuster, a terrifying version of a global pandemic. But scientists say the 2011 film Contagion is also a close depiction of how an infectious disease outbreak could unfold.
A close depiction. No, it's fiction, not a depiction. It's all fiction. All of it.
Just one cough and you have a catastrophic chain of transmission. You have to go back 100 years to find true...
Oh yeah, let's put one hoax on top of another and notice 1918 pandemic and 100 years 2018. This is being presented. And in a way, that's exactly true, because the hoaxers were sending out information to hospitals and nursing homes and whatnot to prepare them for a pandemic. So yeah, it basically started in 2018. Now, it's interesting they're showing this supposedly 1918 and they sectioned them off with what? Sheets. And look at them. They're just regular people in bed looking at you. Look at this person right here. No pandemic, nothing. Nonsense.
Global devastation. The Spanish flu of 1918. Up to 1/3 of the world's population infected, more than 50 million.
Okay, by the usage of 1/3, we're trying to recall in your mind another hoax, which was the Great Plague, or Black Death, or bubonic plague, supposedly killed 1/3 of the population of Europe. 1/3, 33.3333, on into infinity.
Dead. The only disease to rival that level of destruction since is HIV/AIDS.
Another hoax.
But there have been other fatal infections. In 1957, Asian flu killed up to 2 million. 10 years later, Hong Kong flu claimed an estimated 1 million. Then, in 2003, there was SARS.
The outbreak of SARS, severe acute...
They're all hoaxes. All of them. Viruses are hoaxes. All viruses are hoaxes. And yes, that's the one that the neighbor says, oh, you must have had a virus. That's why you had a fever and vomited. You didn't have a virus. They don't exist.
Respiratory syndrome is a chilling reminder of our frailty in the face of Mother Nature.
It is quite clear that it is a unique and novel virus. It's a virus that is new to science.
SARS was a wake-up call for many.
When China was dealing with SARS, it didn't know how to handle it. Since 2003, China's...
See, there you go, China. What's the so-called COVID-19? China
has invested in improving its healthcare system, in improving, the information system, in reporting to World Health Organization, and being very transparent.
6 years later, swine flu arrived, another strain scientists had never seen before.
Authorities are desperate to test passengers who shared a Qantas flight with the woman who's become Australia's first confirmed swine flu case.
In the end, as a global pandemic, swine flu was relatively mild. Worldwide, it's thought to have killed more than 280...
Killed no one. What kills people is what they injected in them as vaccines.
1,000 people. In Australia, there were 37,500 cases. and 191 deaths. Since then, Ebola, MERS...
Notice the yellow. Yellow's the color of the devil, the false illumination. These are all just actors acting out a scenario. Notice if there's supposedly in a poor, poverty-stricken country, I'm not saying the clothes look the best, but they look pretty decent because they're actors and it's a set.
and the Zika virus have all made headlines. Now, for the first time, the World Health Organization has
Look at the serpent. Did you see the serpent?
to its watch list, a recognition that we don't know where the next pandemic will come from. But we do know.
Oh, yes, we do know in 2018 because we have a plandemic. It's all planned to be a media atrocity. It exists on paper, it exists on film, it exists in radio, but it is not actually in existence in real life.
That how we respond to it will be critical. If a newly emerged airborne virus appeared in Southeast Asia today...
See, a newly emerged. Isn't that something? How there's always something emerging that's a little different. That's because they have to vary the hoaxes.
Experts say we'd be likely to see 33 million dead in just 6 months.
33. Wow, what an interesting number. 1, this nonsense is sent out in story form. 2, you get interested in it. And 3, you take it in. And then you issue it out to someone else, 3, and that makes your 33. You replay the story for other people.
The modern world has had practice, but nothing on that scale. So to introduce our panel for tonight's hypothetical, Dr. Russell Basser is a qualified physician. He's also Senior Vice President of Research and Development at Seqirus, which is the second largest influenza vaccine maker in the world. It's wholly owned by CSL.
About that, we're going to have an expert in vaccines.
Professor Kanta Subbarao is a virologist, a physician, and she's also director of the World Health Organization.
Virology is hoaxology. Why? Viruses do not exist, so it's all made up, all of it.
Organization's collaborating centre for reference and research on influenza based here in Melbourne. It's one of only 6 such centres in the world. Next to Kanta, we have Gary Lum, Dr. Gary Lum. He's the Principal Medical Advisor in the Office of Health Protection with the Federal Department of Health. He was the coordinator of the Incident Control Room during the swine flu pandemic in 2009, which means that he helped all the state, territory and the federal government get on the same page with how they were going to handle...
How they're going to present the hoax. What forms of media and what forms of created nonsense will they induce upon the population to convince them of something that does not exist.
Swine flu, and that is a role that he will reprise tonight with our hypothetical virus. Professor Malik Perez, Chair of Virology at the School of Public Health at the University of Hong Kong. You may recognise Malik, not looking a day older than he did in that video where he was talking about SARS some 15 years ago. He played a key role in unravelling the...
Okay, that's you. You're taking this all in, right? That's why they pan the audience, so that somehow, some way, you identify and say, yep, that's me, I'm there, I'm taking it all in, they're all experts.
Mysteries of the SARS virus, and indeed also is very prominent in research around avian flu, and we thank him for joining us from Hong Kong tonight. Professor Sharon Lewin is the inaugural director of the Peter Doherty Institute for Infection and Immunity. She's also the chief investigator of the Australian Partnership... for preparedness research of infectious disease emergencies. And also tonight, she is a specialist infectious diseases consultant to the Alfred Hospital. Dr. Rod Pearce is a senior grassroots GP. He's a former president of the Australian Medical Association in South Australia, and he runs a series of clinics in Adelaide and also on the York Peninsula. That makes a total of 6 top physicians on the stage.
6? I wonder why they'd select the number 6, huh? Mark of the beast.
Tonight, so if you're in the right place, if you're feeling sick, that's for sure. All our experts will be playing themselves for this hypothetical. Please welcome our panel. It's the 6th of September and news is starting to filter through of an influenza-like virus in southern China.
Notice how she said the 6th of September after she just said the 6th panelists or experts. That makes her 66.
Families in Wuzhou on the Xi River bordering Guangdong province have been affected. In all, there are about 30 suspected cases with 4 dead. The sick include 2 healthcare workers, a nurse and an orderly who helped treat the worst affected members of this family in a local hospital. The first case is believed to date back about 2 weeks. Malik, you're in Hong Kong. You've been contacted by one of your colleagues in southern China. You've received a telephone call a little like this before, haven't you, with SARS?
Yes, I have received telephone calls like this, both from WHO alerting about SARS and
Hypothetical calls, right. You receive them, because they're all hypothetical, because viruses don't exist. All right, I'm going to end this here, and I'll maybe do part 2 and part 3, so stay tuned for more.